So the results are in on the 500k challenge. And after a year, the first guy, 10.05% growth on 500,000. The second guy, minus 26.91% on 500,000. So there's a loss of about 134,000 Rand. And then myself, that's following a different strategy. I invested 100 Rand, and that 100 Rand at the moment is 3.8 million. Now, if you'd like to know more about the other two gentlemen, there's a video. I'm going to link to that video where you can find out what they've been doing and why they're doing what they're doing. But the main difference between these outcomes is that the first two people, Piet and Magnus, they are basically following an opportunity-seeking strategy, and I'm following a wealth creator strategy. Now, there's positives as well as negatives to both these strategies. And in this lesson, I'm going to break it down a little bit further so that we can understand exactly what it is. So, although it looks like, you invest 100 Rand and you get back 3.8 million in a year's time, for the majority of people, this will not be the right strategy. And I'm going to tell you why. And why is it that so few people are prepared to follow this strategy? So if you're new to this channel, I'm Dreyer. I'm the founder of the Wealth Creators Method, where we help investors and entrepreneurs to create, to grow, and to protect their wealth. And we do it in a very specific way. We apply the Wealth Creator strategy. As I've said, there's only two strategies, the Wealth Creator strategy and the Opportunity Seeking strategy. The main difference between the two is that an opportunity seeker basically works for his or her money. They work really hard. They've got a little bit of a surplus or a lot of surplus, and then what they do is they take that money and they give it to someone else. So they do not take the responsibility to learn the skills on how to invest it themselves. And for that reason, they are taking all the risk because it's always their money that they give away. And they've got no control over the growth. So there's two penalizations. The first one is in terms of the risk, where they do not learn the skills to offset risk. And secondly, they do not learn the skills in order to get the best possible growth on the investment. Now, the opposite of that is the wealth creator strategy. And the main part of the wealth creator strategy is where a person says, I'm going to take full responsibility for my life and for my investments. I'm going to learn the skills that is needed in order to understand risk, which by the way is not difficult. I'm going to explain just now. And to mitigate that risk down and to eliminate that risk, but at the same time, get a phenomenal growth on my money. So I'm not going to give my money to the experts. Now, as you can see, very few people are conditioned to think that way or are prepared to take the responsibility to learn these two skills. So if you're not into this category and you do not want to learn the skills, then the right thing to do is to go to the experts like Piet and Magnus and thousands of other people that's going to give you advice either as fund managers or as brokers or as financial planners or as financial advisors. The world is crazy out there. There's a lot. The biggest problem that I see in that field is the financial system condition people and train people to sell their products. And in order to keep you confused, they bring out more and more and more products. At the moment here in South Africa, we've got about 1,500, more or less, unit trust. If you look globally, you're going to find there's more than 8,000 in America alone. So what are the odds that you're going to select the best fund? It is 1 out of 10,000, maybe. So for that reason, people are going to tell you to diversify. But what they don't tell you is they diversify into funds that diversify into more and more funds, right? So it's not that you diversify between one or two asset classes. And those asset classes are basically controlled by the system because they need your money in order for them to succeed. So what are the advantages of this system? The advantages are basically that you do not have to do anything. You work for your money, you give it, and you hope and pray that is going to be the best investor or the best fund manager, or that your broker is going to spread it, diversify it into the best funds. That also means that you do not have to put in time and effort to learn the risk skills to offset risk or the growth skills to get the maximum growth. In other words, you can carry on with your life. You can go and party, you can watch rugby when other people like wealth creators are perhaps studying and improving their skills. But the end result of that, for most people, are not going to be great. You know, in South Africa, there's more than 10% of the funds over the last 10 years that has given you a negative return over a 5-year period. Now, to me, to invest your hard-earned money for 5 years and still get a negative, I don't think that's what most people sign up. Now, where do these people invest your funds and where do we get this? So if you go to the bank, any bank, and there's a fixed deposit, it works on an opportunity seeker strategy because you're going to take your money, put it into the bank. They're going to make, by the way, at least 10 times more than what you are going to make, what they're going to give you. Now, you can also, if you've got a pension fund, a provident fund, a retirement annuity, a unit trust, overseas in America, we call it mutual funds. You know, if you use fund managers, if you use hedge fund managers, all of those are based on the opportunity seeker strategy. The reason is very simple. You work for your money, you give your money to someone else, and you hope and pray that they're going to make you more money. And then, of course, they're going to tell you to diversify. So, for example, in this case, if the client gave Piet 500,000 and Magnus 500,000, Magnus is down by 26.91%, Piet is up by 10.05%, but when you look at the average, it's about 8.3, 8.4% negative growth. And compared to the rest of the world, it's actually not bad because no one knew a year ago what would happen. But here's the thing, the moment that you follow the wealth creator strategy and you've got the 3.8 million, by doing it yourself, it's a total different story. Now, let's go and have a look at the strategy. What is the strategy? If I can give you a definition, it's the intelligent use of limited resources to go from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest possible time with the least amount of risk. So when you start, we always start with the risk. And the risk is what's going to kill any investment. So if you're going to get less money than what you've put in, or your money is not really performing, you are busy taking risk. So there's the immediate risk or the year-to-year risk where you can lose money. But then there's another risk, the lost opportunity cost of money, where at the end of the day, in 5 years' time, the difference between these three, let's call it challenges, the outcome of that, that's where the real risk is going to be. So if one person is going to get 4 million for this 100 Rand, and another person gets 1 million for the 500,000 Rand, then the risk between these two are enormous. And people don't normally take that into consideration. But there's also another risk. If I invest 500,000 and you invest 100 Rand, then your risk is a lot lower than my risk where I invest 500,000. So it's very, very easy for me, like in this case. Now, by the way, Magnus at the moment is down by 26.91%, but this is a 5-year race. In other words, things can change and turn around literally overnight. So it's nothing bad because you only have to measure after 5 years. So compared to other people, he may be doing excellent, extremely well. But still, now, today, that risk means there's 134,530 Rand gone to a person that invested a year ago this way 500,000 Rand. And that is what I want to bring to you. Nothing wrong with that strategy. So if you're not prepared to learn the skills, the intelligent use, in other words, how do I offset risk? How do I get maximum growth? Follow the opportunity seeker. Because it's far better to follow that strategy than to do nothing. Now in this case, in Magnus' case, it would have been better to do absolutely nothing. But we don't know what the future is going to present us. And therefore, we have to do something. So follow that and hopefully you're going to make it. Now, I do not know a lot of people, unless they were wealthy or rich already, that followed this strategy and that could retire in 5 years' time financially free, right? Especially if they start with very, very little. But I do know of a lot of people that follow the wealth creator strategy that's in a position within 5 years to have a really decent retirement and life for the rest of their lives. I'm not saying that you should retire. I'll never retire in my life. I tried that at 37, and it's the worst thing that you can do is to do nothing. So in 2002, when Tanya said to me, go and teach other people what is it that we've done and the formulas and the strategies that you're using, I never thought that I would love to teach that. But as soon as I started doing that, and I started seeing the results that my students were getting, this is my life, this is my passion. And it feels to me as if I've got a moral obligation to teach the world about this. Not that the world are going to listen to me, because the moment that you compare a 3.8 million % versus a 10, people will tell you it's impossible simply because of the mindset, simply because of the conditioning. But maybe we can change one person at a time. And this is a reason also why I'm giving feedback and why I took on this challenge, is to show you in real life what can happen the moment that you start intelligently use the limited resources. Now, what are those limited resources? It's your time. We've got a finite amount of time, 24 hours per day. We don't know how long we're going to live. And we also don't know how long we're going to live after, let's call it, retirement. The second thing is, we've got a limited amount of effort. And this is why a lot of people will not take on the responsibility, because they don't want to put in effort. And my friend, there's no other way. It's going to take effort. It's going to take time to learn the skills. The great thing is all skills can be transferred and be learned and in a very, very short time. So you don't have to go and get any degrees in order to be able to do it. There are ways that I will discuss in my masterclass webinars that I've got. So, by the way, if you want to attend one of those, you'll find a link somewhere down on this page. If it's YouTube, just below this video. And if it's somewhere else, somewhere on the page, there will be a book now or a link that you can follow in order to book for your spot. And there I'm going to get a lot deeper into it. I'm not going to focus on the strategies, because this is the reason why I'm telling you what those strategies are at the moment, so that you know before you book your spot. But there we're going to go into the system and why the system is keeping you back. So it's the intelligent use of limited resources to go from where you are to where you want to be, from 100 Rand. My goal is to go to at least 20 million over a 5-year period. We're not 100% where I want it to be. The cryptos are down in my specific portfolio at this stage. And that is one of the only, well, that is basically the only reason why we're not at 4.5 million, for example, at this point in time. It could have been a lot better. But again, we have to look over a 5-year period. So to go from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest possible time with the least amount of risk. Now, risk is when you do not know what you're doing. It's got nothing to do with the volatility that every financial expert will try to tell you. It's got to do with, do you know how to mitigate the risk, and do you know how to grow your money by mitigating the risk? So all I did was to say, I'm going to offset the risk by applying the 4 high-value skill set that any wealth creator must have. And this is where the time and the effort is going to go in. Not in academic qualifications in order to get a job, but in real life where you can take 100 Rand or 50 Rand or 1,000 Rand and turn it literally into millions yourself. Because unless you can do it yourself, you're going to depend for the rest of your life on someone else. And that is not the purpose of becoming a wealth creator. Right, so as you can see, the intelligent use was I limited, we call it asymmetrical risk. I limited the risk by applying these skills to just 100 Rand. And then, by the way, I did a risk reversal, which you'll learn more about the moment that you start getting deeper into this, which is very, very important, to take the 100 Rand back so that there's no risk for me on the table at this stage, and there will never be risk for me as we go through the next 4 years in terms of this investment. So even if I ended up and I lose, of the 3.8 million, I lose 3 million, I'm still going to end up with 818,000, but it means that it has cost me from this moment on, actually from the moment that I did the risk reversal, it's going to cost me, and it has cost me, 0. So it's a phenomenal, we call it the infinite growth. That's the way, by the way, how I buy my properties. That's the way that I buy cryptos. And that's the way that I buy businesses, is by applying these skill sets to be able to do it. But you will not be able to do it unless you've got the skills, unfortunately. So if you are in this small group of people that says, I can see that my pension fund, my provident fund, my retirement annuity, my unit trust, my fixed deposits, my REITs, real estate investment trust, you know that it's not working. And you're looking for an alternative. Maybe, just maybe, this can be an alternative on condition that you are prepared to take the responsibility to learn 2 sets of skills. The first one, the risk skill and how to offset risk. For example, in property, there's 27 risks. There are 27 variables. So the moment that you understand these variables, those variables are actually risk factors. And all you have to do then, and you can do that in less than a week, is to learn the skills to offset that risk or to mitigate that risk, or to be aware of the risk and to have measures in place that if that risk happens, that you can handle that risk. Now, this information, the educational system will not teach you, and the financial system will never teach that to you. So if you want to learn this stuff, you won't be able to learn it because no one's going to give this to you. So I'm going to have a master class called the 500k Master Class. It's like a webinar. It's on the internet. There will be time for question and answer afterwards. It normally takes approximately 2 hours. With the questions, it can carry on for at least another hour. So make provision for at least 3 hours. Please don't book a spot if you're not serious. If you know yourself. If you know, I'm not going to take the responsibility to learn stuff. I'd rather watch a couple of rugby games and have a couple of beers with my friends and, relax in front of a TV and watch YouTube videos for the rest of my life. Then it's not for you, and you're going to waste your time. And I know that your time, even though some people are wasting it on social media, time is really a very, very precious, limited resource that you've got. Also, do yourself a favor. If you are not prepared to learn the skills, unsubscribe from my mailing list, unsubscribe from my YouTube channel, unsubscribe from Facebook, because there's nothing that I can help to add value to you. But in the event that you'd like to become a wealth creator, then please make sure to subscribe to this channel and follow this playlist that we are busy to create. And there's also other stuff in terms of the mental, in terms of business, in terms of property, in terms of cryptos, that I'm sharing how to apply the wealth creator strategy to those different classes of investments, or to gain those kinds of skills in order to offset risk and to get the maximum growth on your investment by not taking risk. Then please subscribe and maybe share if you want to. And then also there's a bell icon on YouTube. Click that so that you are the first to be notified as soon as there's another lesson that we're going to bring in. This year coming, I want to focus more on the mental side, on the mental skills, by showing you how powerful these skills are the moment that you combine them with, let's call it, performance. So there are two axes. The one is a vertical, where it's the skills, the mental skills, and the other one is the performance skills, or the money-making skills, or the growth skills to get. And there are 4 quadrants. So I'm going to focus on that for this coming year, and focus on the mindset and what the mindset is and why it is that the majority of people, although they can see 3.8 million versus 50,000 profit, they still will not do this. So we are our worst enemies. And for that reason, we have to do an introspection and look at ourselves and say, what is really important in my life? And am I prepared to put in the time and the effort to gain the skills so that, in my case, I was financially free at 37. Now, I can't begin to explain how powerful that is and was to me and to my family. And not only my family, but my, let's call it, extended family. So, I'm not here to try to convince you to do anything, by the way. And I know for sure that I'm the last person that can do something like this. But what are your dreams? What do you really want to do? And the strategy that you are busy with. And by the way, the quickest way to look at your strategy is look at your results. If you've been working for 10 or 20 or 30 years, my friend, and you perhaps still have got a bond that you need to pay off. Or maybe, you've got a car that's on an HP or a lease or a rental or something like that. Then obviously, you are following the wrong strategy. Now, Einstein says insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. These results that I'm showing you and that I've shown with other challenges that I've taken in the past, those challenges and the results are moving the needle. And that movement of the needle is going to give you freedom. Not only financial freedom, but also time freedom. The freedom of choice and purpose freedom. And I think that's the reason why we do what we do. So in the beginning, it's going to be difficult because it means additional time, it means additional effort, it means paradigm shift, which is the mental side, which means that you have to query yourself by investing in yourself to overcome those limited beliefs. But as soon as you've got this, and you understand this, and you start to apply it, my friend, we're living in a life of abundance. And that's your birthright, not poverty, not this financial struggle. The only reason why we struggle is because of the systems. And the function of the system is to keep you poor and take you from the middle class into the lower middle class so that they can keep you in the system for the rest of your life. Some people call that the rat race. At a very early age, I decided I do not want to be part of this rat race. And I'm glad I've done what I've done. I want to invite you, come and listen to me. See if this is something that can work for you, and then do something about it. Or at least at the end of that masterclass say, no ways, this is not for me. And then unsubscribe. So I really hope that I've added a little bit of value. Whatever you decide, that's perfect. There's nothing wrong being an opportunity seeker, but there will be a consequence. There will be a result. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong being a wealth creator. It's not a better person. It's just a person that knows how to invest and how not to take a risk. But it's not for everyone. So basically the choice is yours. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you then maybe in the next one.